Welcome to another episode of the Kettlebell Guys podcast. And today I've got a treat for you. I'm going to share my current workout plan with you so that you can potentially use it and start getting some great results in your life. Now, one thing you have to understand when you look at my training program is that I am a minimalist when it comes to training, especially in terms of the tools that I use, but as well as the exercise selection. So I do very few exercises in my training, and it's been that way for a very long time. For the past 5 years or so, I've really only done swings, get-ups, and snatches. That's been probably 98% of the work that I've done. Is that skipping out on a lot of things like squats or lunges or any other thing that you might think of? Sure, it could be if that's your goal and if you want to do those things. Am I missing training certain planes of motion or certain body parts? Maybe I could be. But at the end of the day, what I know for me is that I want to get stronger in those exercises. I want to maintain a certain level of strength and endurance in my life. And I want my workouts to be simple and approachable. And also, what I know from many, many years of doing a huge variety of different types of training modalities, as well as different kettlebell exercises, when I start to spread myself too thin with the amount of different exercises that I'm doing at any one time, that's when my body starts to feel not too great. For instance, if I press too much, almost always I end up with neck or shoulder issues. If I squat too much, almost always I end up with knee or back issues. And so for me, what I do instead is I just maintain the ability to do those things with light weights anytime that I want to. I might warm up with some very, very light goblet squats where I'll sit down at the bottom, or I might warm up with some very, very light push presses or something along those lines. But that's not what I'm going to do with my training. So as I said, I want to share with you the training program that I've been running now for the past probably about 6 months. So what I've been doing is 2 days a week, I've been doing swings and get-ups, keeping it very simple. I'll give you some sort of guidelines around the swings and get-ups. And then 2 days a week, I've been doing snatch brackets. So that's what I've really been focused on progressing and getting stronger with and really building up my volume because I want to level up my snatching. So what it's looked like for me is on the 2 days a week where I'm doing swings and get-ups, I don't have specifically a set progression or plan that I'm going on, but I have some pretty simple principles that I operate under. The first one being I'm going to do 100 swings. So that's really as simple as it gets right there. Now, I don't always do 10 sets of 10. I don't always use the same weights. Usually I'm doing 10 sets of 10 and I'm using probably two different weights. Maybe just I'm using one weight. Typically it's going to be a 48 kilogram, maybe mixing in some 40 kilogram and some 56 kilogram. 10 by 10 is my most common. I'm never using any sort of specific rest period. I'm always just going purely based on how do I feel. Usually those sessions are going to take me, let's say 12 to 15 minutes, maybe up to 20 minutes if I'm really taking my time and maybe I'm a little bit distracted or maybe my endurance just isn't feeling great that day and I want to get some more rest. Or maybe I'm doing more sets with my 56 and so I really want to recover well between those sets. But I'm getting 100 swings in. Now, I'll often utilize 15 reps at a time. Maybe I'll do 12, 10, 8. Maybe I'll do 8, 7, 5. I'll do all sorts of mixing up my rep schemes so that it doesn't seem like I'm just doing the same thing every time. And now this is something that I've actually employed a lot in my life in terms of training to keep my training interesting. And this is, I think, really important because a lot of people that I speak with who are not managing their fitness, who are not consistent, they tell me that they get bored easily. They like variety because of how easily they get bored. And the problem is what they do is they make the mistake of switching programs or of switching modalities. They go from training with kettlebells to training with barbells or from training with barbells to riding their Peloton. And so they keep jumping from program to program and from workout modality to workout modality, and they never get anywhere with any of them. They never build any real skill or consistency or strength. And so what I do is I utilize the play that my dad used to call in the turkey bowl all the time. He'd call us over, he'd draw up the play on his stomach in the huddle, and he'd say, okay, you're all going to do the same thing, but different. And that was the play every time. Right. And so that's exactly what I've done with my training, specifically my kettlebell training, my swing training is same thing, but different. So I'm going to always get 100 swings in, but I'm going to mix up how it happens. And believe it or not, this works really, really well. It makes my training never feel too boring. It allows me to utilize different weights. So if I feel really good, I might push it with my 56 kilogram. If I don't feel so good, maybe I'll just swing the 40 kilogram, and that's fine. And I'm just checking the box. I'm just knowing that, hey, coming up soon, I'll have a workout where I feel really good and I can push it. Now, I'm also doing Turkish get-ups, and I'm really doing that in pretty much the same exact way. So I utilize singles and doubles primarily. Sometimes I may mix in triples if I'm feeling really, really good. I might hit a triple 40 kilogram or maybe even a triple 48 if I'm really feeling strong that day. Maybe I'll mix in a single with my 56 kilogram, which, rather than thinking about trying to use the same weights, think about just having like a moderate bell, which for me would be like a 40 kilogram, a heavy bell, which for me would be my 48 kilogram, and a very heavy bell, which for me would be my 56 kilogram. So that would be like if I'm feeling really excellent and I rack up my first rep with the 40 kilogram and it just feels easy. And then I do the 48 kilogram, my heavy bell, and it's like, ooh, that felt really good. From there, I might say, okay, I'm going to go after my 56 kilogram. Or maybe I'll say, okay, on the next set, I'm actually going to go for a double with my 48 kilogram, or maybe even a triple. And giving myself the permission to not come in with a set structure is something that has served me very well. Now, I do want to caveat that by saying I am 12 years into my kettlebell training journey. So if you are just getting started and you are using, light weights and you don't really have a skill set and you don't really have a habit set, I would not recommend training this way. This is something that I have found over a long period of time works well for me personally. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't go on set progressions. In fact, my snatch progression is a set progression. So from a snatch perspective, what I've been doing is 2 days a week, I've been doing what's called brackets. So this is something that Grant passed along to me, and I believe he got it from a guy named Tim Almond, who's a strong first instructor, I think in Australia. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's where Grant got it from. And so the way that snatch brackets work are what you do is the brackets are three rep totals in a bracket. So for instance, I did the 32 kilogram, and my first bracket was 80 reps during one workout. The next workout was 100 total reps. And then the next workout after that was 120 total snatches. And so that's a bracket, 80, 100, 120. And then I repeated that bracket again, 80, 100, 120. So that was 6 total workouts. And since I was snatching 2 times a week, going through one bracket took me 2 weeks. I was getting, did I do that math right? It took me 3 weeks because it was 6 workouts, 2 a week. So it took me 3 total weeks to go through that bracket. Now, after I went through 80, 100, 120, the next bracket is one up on the lowest amount. So that means that it was 100, 120, 140. So now I did 100, 120, 140 once through, and then I did it again, 100, 120, 140. Then the next bracket was 120, 140, 160. The bracket after that was 140, 160, 180. And the bracket after that was 160, 180, 200. Now, I thought I was going to be able to get through this without any pausing. But what ended up happening was I very stupidly tried to do some heavy kettlebell cleans and front squats randomly. I don't really remember why I tried to do it, but I did. And guess what? My knee started barking at me. And so I had to take a week off from training. I had some travel. I also got sick during that time. So it actually took me like 5 weeks longer than I thought it was going to, or than it would if I would have just went straight through. But I just knew, hey, when I come back into it, I'm going to pick up where I left off. Everything's going to be fine. And now I've made it all the way through the 32 kilogram snatch brackets. And so now what I've done is I've reset back down to my 36 kilogram bell, and I'm starting with a 60, 80, 100 bracket. So now I'll go 60, 80, 100. The next one will be 80, 100, 120. And I'll do that all the way up to being able to do 200 snatches with the 32 kilogram. Once I do that, I'm going to reset and go back down and do the same thing with the 40 kilogram. And my plan is to march that all the way to being able to snatch the 48 kilogram kettlebell. That's my goal. That's what I want to achieve in 2025. And so I'm going to tell you right now that for the next year, all of 2025, I am guessing that I won't do anything except swings, get-ups, and snatches. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. And the thing is if you look around and you look at different influencers on Instagram, especially kettlebell influencers, you're going to see a lot of variety. You're going to see people doing a lot of different stuff. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's totally cool. The kettlebell is the most versatile tool around. And so if you're somebody who already has a long history of holding yourself accountable to consistently training, and you've already put in the work to level up your skill and your strength to the point where you're consistently using 70, 80, 90, 100-pound kettlebells, then variety could be awesome for you. If you know that your body feels great when you do that, awesome. Definitely go for that. But if you are somebody who has struggled with consistency and who hasn't put in the time to get strong and build skill, then I would strongly encourage you to simplify and really shrink the amount of different exercises that you are doing so you can focus on getting strong and creating consistency with less, because I promise it'll pay off. If you go from doing swings with a 50-pound bell and Turkish get-ups with a 25-pound bell to doing swings with a 100-pound bell and get-ups with an 80-pound bell, that's going to be a significant difference. You are going to probably feel a hell of a lot stronger, because you're going to be, but you're also probably going to see some pretty serious changes in your body composition, especially if you have your nutrition even close to being dialed in. You're going to feel stronger. You're going to look stronger. You're going to have less body fat. You're going to have more energy. Your body's just going to perform better overall from doing less. So you just have to understand where you're at. And then maybe you get to the point like me where you've just discovered that, hey, all that variety, all those different things, not only does it just make your training more confusing, but it also just doesn't feel as great on your body. And so you pare things back down and you simplify. Now, that's not to say I don't love things like double cleans and front squats and, presses and all those things. Like, those things are all awesome. I enjoyed doing those things very much when I was doing them consistently. It's just not where I'm at in my training today. So this pod could be relevant for you if you're further along in your kettlebell journey. And if you're not, but you're looking for a plan and you know how to do swings and get-ups, and you also know how to snatch at least an appreciable amount of weight, then that 2 days of doing swings and get-ups and 2 days of doing snatches is something that's really, really worked very, very well for me. And interestingly, what's happened is it's made my get-up a lot stronger too, because on my days where I'm snatching, I'm actually not doing Turkish get-ups that day. So I might do 1 or 2 to warm up, but I'm not doing like a progression of get-ups. I'm not getting volume of get-ups there. So that means I'm only doing Turkish get-ups twice a week. And so what's happened there is I've been able to really get to the point where I can do doubles and triples with the 48 and hit multiple rounds of singles with my 56 and feel good and have the time to recover between that. And that is typically not something that I'd be able to do as effectively at those heavier weights if I was doing get-ups 4 days a week. So anyway, this is just completely my personal journey in the more recent, maybe 6 months or so. But I thought it would be cool to share, just, to put some reality into what I'm doing with my training. Now, again, I just want to say one last time, if you haven't put the time and you haven't done the work to really build the skill and really build up your strength with the baseline exercises, then I wouldn't be snatching, but I also wouldn't be doing your training the way I am, which is a more intuitive, just kind of coming into each session and seeing how my body feels and going from there. I would take a more structured approach. I would do something like the Kettlebell Transfromation Plan, which is an actual 16-week training program that takes your swing and get up from a medium to a heavy to a very heavy on a really set progression where you know exactly what you're going to do each day and you're checking the boxes, because that's how you're going to actually progress, from one bell to the next very consistently. So that's what I'd be doing if I was kind of just getting started out. But hope this is helpful for someone. And if you're looking for something to do with your training and you got the experience, try those 2 days of swings and get-ups and 2 days of snatches doing the brackets. And let me know how it goes. Hope you enjoy and keep swinging. And we'll see you on the next podcast.